Over 20 people were hospitalized.
We were trying to pump the stuff out, and they were like geysers, and it just blew the floor.
People lost their jobs. We lost our business. These were people I loved.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Paul Hagar.
And I'm meteorologist Cam Moore.
Now that thunderstorm and tornado season is upon us again, we're devoting the next half hour to telling you about how severe weather is formed and how you can be prepared for some of nature's most devastating phenomena.
When we come back, we'll take a look at the different weather conditions in our area and show you how to check the skies.
KMEG Weatherized Severe Storm Survival 94 is sponsored by Davenport Cleaners, master dry cleaner since 1909, Sadov's Men's Clothing, Southern Square, and your local Chrysler Plymouth dealers. KMEG thanks these fine sponsors for their support.
Davenport Cleaners understands you're pressed for time, so they offer fast, quality service. Drop off your dry cleaning with the confidence it will be handled with professional care, including mending and alterations by a skilled seamstress. And Davenport Cleaners can handle your large jobs like rugs and drapes, too. Take advantage of convenient hours 6 days a week and delivery available in Sioux City, South Sioux City, and Dakota Dunes. Depend on the master dry cleaner since 1909. Davenport Cleaners, 20th and Pierce, Sioux City.
It's late afternoon. Do you know where your kids are?
If your kids are like most kids, they're probably right here, watching the KMEG Kids Club. Every weekday from 3 to 5, the KMEG Kids Club with Tim Poppin is the place to be. Thousands of Siouxland kids are tuning in for fun contests, jokes, information about community events, wholesome advice, and good, clean fun. When the school day's over, there's no better place for your kids to be than the KMEG Kids Club, the home for Siouxland kids.
Welcome back. Picture this. It's a warm, sultry day in our area. Kids are playing, business is going on as usual. But over in north-central Nebraska, a little low-pressure system is developing. A southerly breeze sweeps across the plains, bringing with it a warm air mass from the Gulf of Mexico. At the same time, northwesterly winds are drawing cooler, drier air from Canada. Over our area, the warm air meets the cool along a cold front. The warm air is lifted by the cool air, and in the course of a year, about 100,000 thunderstorms occur in the United States. Most of these bring relief from heat, beneficial rain, and a free sound and light show. Of all these thunderstorms, only 1 to 2% ever become severe, but even a routine thunderstorm has certain common elements. All thunderstorms have strong winds and dangerous lightning. This storm may not be severe, but you still need to respect it. A thunderstorm cell contains an updraft and a downdraft. The downdraft is rain-cooled air that sinks to the ground. There, it spreads out as gusty winds. A rapidly advancing band of low clouds ahead of the rain marks the gust front. You can expect the wind to pick up as this cloud deck closes in. Thunder and lightning are the hallmark of every thunderstorm. Lightning is caused when the top of a cloud builds a positive charge, while the bottom takes a negative charge. This also induces a positive charge on the Earth's surface, and lightning followed by, you guessed it, thunder. Thunder is the sound from the explosive expansion of air heated by lightning. And since sound travels slower than light, we see the lightning before we hear the thunder. It takes 5 seconds for thunder to travel 1 mile. So by counting the seconds between the flash and the boom, we can tell how far from us the lightning struck. People forget that lightning is a killer, taking the lives of almost 100 people every year. And because it's found in almost every thunderstorm, any storm is dangerous.
Back in the storm, cold air is moving in at 25,000 feet, along with a strong jet stream, pulling in additional warm, moist air at the surface, making the storm bigger and even more unstable. This thunderstorm has become severe. Thunderstorms classified as severe have winds over 58 miles per hour. 3/4 inch or larger hail or contain tornadoes. With a stronger up and downdraft, hail is now possible. Small ice particles fall in the downdraft of the storm and pick up a layer of rainwater. The updraft then carries the wet particles back up to be frozen. The more this process repeats, the larger the hail becomes before falling to earth. There are some clues to tell if an approaching storm is severe. If the entire storm seems to be rotating, it's more likely severe. When the storm hits, large hailstones are an indication of a greater likelihood of damaging winds and even tornadoes. When you see these signs, don't wait for an official warning. Seek shelter right away.
Back in our storm scenario, the jet stream at the top of the storm is now much faster and from a different direction than the surface winds feeding into the storm. This creates a horizontal rotation in the atmosphere. When it's picked up by the updraft of the thunderstorm, an area of rotation 2 to 6 miles wide now forms inside the storm. This mesocyclone can turn into nature's most violent storm, a tornado. But how does this turn into a tornado? A cloud hanging below the main cloud mass may form in the rain-free portion of the updraft. Known as the wall cloud, this isn't a tornado yet. In the wall cloud, the updraft must become smaller and smaller and begins to rotate faster and faster, much like a spinning ice skater picks up speed when she pulls her arms closer to her body. Once the rotation reaches the surface of the earth, warm air drawn in and cooling forms the tornado itself. Tornadoes are measured on the F scale according to the amount of damage they do. F0 tornadoes have 0 to 72 mile-per-hour winds, and their paths only range up to 17 yards wide. F1 tornadoes have 73 to 112 mile-per-hour winds. Their paths are 18 to 55 yards wide. F2s have 113 to 157 mile-per-hour winds. Their paths range from 56 to 175 yards wide. F3s, 158 to 206 mile-per-hour winds, and their paths go from 176 to 555 yards in width. F4s have winds of 207 to 260 miles per hour, and their paths range from 3/10 of a mile to 9/10 of a mile in width. And finally, F5 tornadoes have 261 to 318 mile-per-hour winds, with paths ranging anywhere from 1 to 3 miles wide. F0 to F1 is labeled a weak tornado. F2 and F3s are strong storms, and F4 and F5 storms are violent tornadoes. Although only 2% of tornadoes are labeled violent, they account for 68% of all deaths caused by these weather monsters. The look of tornadoes varies greatly, depending on light and weather conditions. In fact, until it picks up debris, the tornado itself may not be visible at all. Once visible, a tornado may appear as a thin strand of rope, in the classic funnel shape, or, in the case of violent tornadoes, as a boiling cloud rolling across the landscape. In certain light conditions, a tornado may vary in color from almost black to white. Soil churned up from fields can also give a tornado a brown color. There are very few set rules for predicting what a tornado will do while it's on the ground. It may travel in a line, zigzag, or even turn back and cover the same area again. Its time on the ground could last anywhere from a few seconds to over an hour. In a few rare occasions, covering a path over 100 miles long. Natural barriers have no effect on a tornado. Contrary to popular belief, they will cross water, as happened in 1986 near Salix. Tornadoes will also cross mountains, hills, ravines, and other earthworks. The sound a tornado makes on the ground has been compared with a freight train, and few who have ever heard it will forget it. Contrary to popular belief, the color of clouds does not indicate the possible presence of tornadoes. However, some of a cloud mass's actions do. Hail is a strong indicator that tornadoes may be present. Rotating cloud masses show the presence of mesocyclones, and scud clouds, small clouds outside the cloud mass, being pulled into the cloud mass also show mesocyclone activity. Although no wind measuring device has ever survived a tornado, special studies of tornado damage have estimated the wind speeds used in the F scale we've talked about. To put these winds in perspective, a 250 mile-per-hour wind exerts a force 25 times that created by a 50 mile-per-hour thunderstorm wind. In some of the more extreme cases, tornadic winds may exert a force of as much as 800 pounds per square foot. Sand and gravel are propelled like shotgun pellets, and straw becomes nails that are driven an inch or more into tree trunks.
We've talked about severe weather you might see coming up this year, but there's something you should do right now. Make a plan of what to do when severe weather strikes. This plan should include where to go in the event of a tornado, severe thunderstorm, or flood if you live in a low-lying area. Don't wait till you're in a natural disaster to decide what to do. When we come back, we'll talk about ways to keep you safe in severe weather.
Weather fact, no place is safe from tornadoes. In the late 1980s, a tornado swept through Yellowstone National Park, leaving a path of destruction up and down a 10,000-foot mountain. You can pick up your copy of the KMEG Weatherized Survival.
More about severe thunderstorms. What can you do about them?
The most important thing you can do to protect yourself in severe weather is be aware. Be aware of how severe weather forms and what to do. A good place to start is to learn the difference between a severe weather watch and warning. We use watches and warnings to alert viewers to potential thunderstorms, tornadoes, and flooding. Remember, a watch means severe weather is possible, so prepare. A warning means a thunderstorm, tornado, or flooding is occurring, so act immediately. Now Paul will tell you about what to do when lightning strikes.
Much of work and play take place outside, but when lightning approaches, make sure you don't become a lightning rod. More than any other factor, lightning is the most dangerous part of a thunderstorm. Every year, around 100 people die from lightning strikes in the U.S. That's more than deaths from hurricanes and tornadoes combined. Don't you become one of these grim statistics. If you find yourself outdoors during an electrical storm, the best protection to find is in a building. But a car can also offer protection. That's right, a car is one of your best forms of protection from lightning. You may think that's because the rubber tires act as insulation, but actually the reason is that the metal body of a car conducts lightning better than your body. If you can't get to shelter, there are some very important things to remember. Avoid natural lightning targets like trees. Instead, drop to a squatting position and bend forward with your hands on your knees. This position lowers you as a target, but it puts you in less contact with the ground than if you were lying flat. If you're boating during an electrical storm, head to shore immediately. The boat is the highest point on a body of water, making it a perfect lightning rod. Even indoors, you should avoid conductors. Metal objects can carry lightning's electricity. And remember, don't handle electrical appliances or your telephone during lightning. The lightning could enter a building through the wiring and into your body. And remember, just because a storm isn't overhead doesn't mean you're safe. Lightning can strike well away from a parent cloud. Now Cam will talk about how to stay safe during a tornado.
Some severe thunderstorms are capable of producing tornadoes. When you see a tornado or are in a tornado warning, there are things you need to do immediately. If you're at home, a basement is the safest place to seek refuge. If you don't have a basement, go to an inside closet, bathroom, or hallway on the lowest level of your home, away from windows. Assume the tornado protection position on the floor with legs tucked under your body and hands clasped over the back of your head. There is no safe place in a mobile home. I repeat, there is no safe place in a mobile home during a tornado. Go to a tornado shelter or a neighbor's basement. If you're in a public building during a tornado warning, stay inside the building. Go to the lowest level away from windows and avoid wide-span roofs such as those in gymnasiums and atriums. Some public buildings have designated tornado shelters. If so, go to the nearest one quickly but calmly. Tornado shelters are marked by this symbol. If you're ever caught in your car during a tornado, never try to outrun the storm. Abandon your vehicle immediately. Find the nearest ditch or low-lying area. Lay flat in the ditch and cover your head with your arms. Every family should study these rules and come up with a plan of action. Then practice that plan until even the young children in your family can act without hesitation. Preparing for a tornado can mean the difference between life and death.
In this part of the country, thunderstorms can produce flash flooding in a matter of minutes. Last spring, our area was subjected to widespread flooding. In addition to the damage done then, this left the ground saturated, making the threat of flooding greater than normal for this spring. So it's important to know what to do in the case of a flash flood when every minute counts. During a flood warning, there are a number of very important safety rules to remember. When a flash flood warning is issued for your area, people living in low-lying sections should evacuate to higher ground immediately. While you're outside, stay away from storm drains, dry washes, waterways, and river floodplains. Don't permit children to play around flooded areas. Currents are stronger than normal for existing bodies of water, and you cannot see currents, submerged objects, or dangerous drop-offs under the water's surface. Don't let children play in drainage ditches. They can be swept into submerged culverts and die in a matter of seconds. Floodwaters often catch people traveling. When driving, watch for flooded bridges and roadways covered with water. If you do encounter this situation, do not attempt to drive through the water. You can't tell if the road has been washed out. It only takes about 2 feet of water to sweep a car away as if it were a boat. If you're already in the water, get out of your car right away and go to high ground. In flooding situations, drinking water can also be contaminated. Have wells checked and wait for your city to give the go-ahead for urban water supplies. Floods are dangerous natural disasters, but if you handle the situation in a smart, calm way, you can minimize the danger. Coming up after the break, you'll see the new technology meteorologists use to track weather conditions and what the KMEG Weather Eye will be doing to alert you in the event of severe storms. So stay with us.
Weather fact: low pressure during a tornado does not cause buildings to explode. Violent winds and debris slamming into buildings cause more structural damage. By Davenport, a tornado only allows damaging winds to enter a structure. Leave the windows alone and go to a safe place immediately.
Welcome back. Now that we've looked at how severe storms work and what you can do to protect yourself from them, let's look at how meteorologists can give you a prompt warning of their approach. The newest forecasting tool we have is Doppler radar. It has literally changed how we see severe weather.
In the early 80s, the National Weather Service began a program to design and deploy a new generation of radar. These were to be far more sensitive than existing radar, which had changed very little since the 1950s. They use an effect called Doppler. You've probably experienced the Doppler effect before and not even known it. When you stand on a street corner and hear the changing sound of a car going by, that's the Doppler effect. The car's speed as it moves towards you adds to the speed of sound waves, making them higher in tone. Once it passes and is moving away from you, its speed subtracts from the sound waves, making them sound lower. Doppler radar works the same way. We send out a beam of radar energy at a certain frequency, and it's echoed back to us. But when it bounces off a raindrop blowing towards the radar, the frequency is shifted higher. A raindrop blowing away from the radar echoes at a lower frequency. With sensitive electronics, we measure these frequency changes to develop a picture of the winds within a storm. In addition, we can show cold fronts moving into our area, light snow and rain that old radar couldn't even detect, and what's very important to the safety of viewers, motion and turbulence within a storm system. With the new Doppler radar's extreme sensitivity, we can even see swarms of insects, flocks of birds, and dust in the air. But we filter those echoes out when we look at a thunderstorm. Now that you know how it works, Cam is going to show you Doppler radar in action.
Everyone is used to seeing the old-fashioned radar image on television, but with Doppler radar, you'll see things in a new way. On this 16-color Doppler display, you can see where the light colors indicate light rain, with darker colors showing the heavier rain. With 16 levels of rain echoes instead of 6, we can see more detail of what's going on in the storm. We can also display a running total of rainfall from a storm system. And here's a view of the wind currents in a thunderstorm. The blue and green is wind moving towards the radar. The yellow to red is wind moving away. The wind patterns could show us severe storm winds and even tornadoes developing. As meteorologists, we can interpret this new data in an up-to-the-minute analysis of current weather conditions. And when those weather conditions turn severe, the KMEG Weather Eye is on the air right away. The standard system of watches and warnings will continue to be the method we use to alert you to the threat of severe storms. Remember, a watch means severe weather may form, so you should keep an eye on local weather conditions. A warning means severe weather is occurring and you need to take shelter immediately. But KMEG will also be providing you with watches and warnings in a new way.
Most of you are familiar with the watch and warning notices that appear at the bottom of your TV screen and the attention tone you hear when severe weather threatens. KMEG will still use this tool to let you know what is happening without interrupting the programs you're watching. Watch messages will be broadcast twice an hour, and warning messages will air 4 times an hour. But in addition, our Earthwatch system allows us to show you warnings like never before. When we first get a warning from the Weather Service, we'll display a map showing you where the severe weather is, the direction it's traveling, and the projected path of the storm over the next half hour. Viewers in the path of severe weather will see clearly what is approaching and can follow their severe weather plans right away. As new warnings come in, we'll display those as well, alerting all viewers affected. In addition, we'll air special reports showing the current Doppler radar and the status of all watches and warnings every half hour. When severe weather threatens, you'll get the information you need right away.
Our area is not a stranger to severe storms. We don't want you to be afraid of the weather. It's a beautiful and fascinating thing, but respect it and be aware of its power.
If you'd like to know more about severe storms and what you should do when they strike, pick up the KMEG Weather Eye Surviving Severe Storms pamphlet at Davenport Cleaners, Sadov's Men's Clothing, or your local Chrysler Plymouth dealer.
Or you can mail a stamped self-addressed envelope to KMEG TV, P.O. Box 657, Sioux City, Iowa 51102. From the KMEG Weather Eye, I'm meteorologist Cam Moore.
And I'm meteorologist Paul Hagar. Stay safe, whatever the weather.
Weather fact: tornadoes can occur at any time of year. It's possible for weather conditions to create a tornado while there is snow on the ground. You can pick up your copy of the KMEG Weather Eye Surviving Severe Storms brochure at Davenport Cleaners, 20th and Pierce, Sioux City. Sadov's Men's Clothing, Southern Square, Sioux City, your local Chrysler Plymouth dealer. Or send a stamped self-addressed envelope to KMEG TV, P.O. Box 657, Sioux City, Iowa 51102.